Hello everyone. So, probably know the format by now. If not, I'll be going over whether or not a structured deck is Genesys ready. Um, Furthermore, we'll be doing the review in hopefully 30-minute intervals. We'll be trying to speed run things, and this time I got it ready for that. So, let's get started. The first card to review is Master Hyperion, the ace of the deck. It can be special summoned by banishing an agent monster from the hand, field, or graveyard. Once per turn, you can banish a light fairy monster from the graveyard to destroy a target on the field. Let's see, yep. And while the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, this effect can be used up to twice per turn. It has decent stats for a level 8, and all in all, I'd say it is a fairly decent boss monster. And with and through a little research, I found that it has been retrained, even gaining a synchro monster. But we're going to be reviewing the deck on its own merits, and right now, Hyperion is a decent boss monster. Okay, next on the list, Agent of Mystery Earth. Let me double check, make sure it's. Yeah. Alright. Okay. Next on the list, Agent of Mystery Earth, level 2 tuner type. Level 2 tuner. When normal summoned, you can add an agent monster from the deck to your hand, except for himself. And if Sanctuary of the Sky is on the field, you can add Master Hyperion as well. No, instead. We'll probably start seeing a trend. A lot of the effects will be bolstered by the field spell, the Sanctuary in the Sky, which we will go over in a while. But yes, this is a tuner monster because of the fact that this deck was released in the advent of synchro monsters, and so Konami is kind of pushing that out there. Though at the time, structured decks did not have synchro monsters; they were reserved for booster packs, so that people would have to work to get them. But yes, Agent of Mystery Earth, a pretty decent tuner, I will say. It serves as a good starter because it'll search out your deck. Next, Ancient of Miracles Jupiter. Let's see, I believe this is another recent addition. Once per turn, you can banish an agent from the graveyard, then target a light fairy monster you control, and that target gains 800 attack. Once per turn, you can do. Once per turn, you can target a fairy type monster, then special summon one of your banished light fairy monsters. If the Sanctuary in this, but in order to use that effect, you must have Sanctuary in the Sky on the field. Another card that's bolstered by the field spell. And this one has decent stats as a level 4 effect monster. And let's see. This deck possibly has ways of summoning monsters out on the field so that you can get your synchro summons off turn 1. But this was during the time when synchro monsters were new, and so you would have other methods, and synchro summoning was still kind of clumsy. Let's see. But this one is more for getting your materials back. In fact, you could probably with Sanctuary in the Sky on the field, you can summon this guy and possibly get back your Agent of Mystery Earth, and then perform a synchro summon. Let's see. Now this one's an older agent card, I believe. Agent of Judgment Saturn. While your life points are higher than your opponent's, you contribute this card to inflict damage to your opponent equal to the difference. However, you must have Sanctuary in the Sky to activate and resolve this effect. And the turn you conduct your battle phase, this effect. Let's see. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect. A very powerful level 6, good stats for a level 6 monster, at least attack wise. and a good equalizing effect. So you could use Agent of Judgment's if you have Sanctuary in the Sky, you can use Agent of Judgment's effect, and that would, depending on where you are, would bring your opponent down to uh, a uh, one turn win. I won't say. Let's see. We want to keep it friendly. So yeah, pretty good end game. Agent of Wisdom Mercury. Let's see. Okay, so this is probably one of the few agents that aren't bolstered by Sanctuary in the Sky. Once per turn during the standby phase, if you control this face-up card in the monster zone and had no cards in your hand, uh, at the end of your opponent's last turn, draw a card. So yeah, this one, not only is it a defensive monster with mediocre stats, it's a win more card. And a difficult one at that. Like, let's see. If you This is a specific set of circumstances that you wouldn't want to find yourself in the first place. So I don't even know how you would even get this effect off. So yeah, you would definitely want to replace Mercury. There you are. All right. These next two will go off in sequence. Double checking the numbers real quick. Yeah. These two will go off in sequence because they are uh, in reference to each other. Agent of Creation Venus. You can pay 500 life points to special summon a mystical shine ball from your hand or deck. And no, it doesn't say once per turn. What's a mystical shine ball? It is a level 2 normal monster with 500 attack and defense that this structure deck has one copy of. I would understand more if it had two, but again, there's some merit to this. Like, it would help to bolster up your synchro summoning, and also with two mystical shine balls, you now have a material for a rank 2 monster. But this on its own doesn't really have much outside of tribute summoning in the Genesys format. Let's see. Okay. Agent of Force Mars. Uh, Mars is unaffected by spell cards or effects, and while the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, and while your life points are higher than your opponent's, this card gains attack and defense equal to the difference. This is a win more card if ever there was a win more card. Because, like, this isn't something you can rely on to uh, do a turnabout play. Because if your life points are lower, it has 0 attack and defense. So really, this would be more used as fodder for the other effects. So yes, this would be another card that you would want to replace. Alright, that is all the agent cards. But now there are... Let me see. And it's starting to slow down. So we'll switch back to this. However, there are some cards that share names, such as the Splendid Venus. See, it is a level 7 monster. A level 8 monster with decent effect monster stats. All non-fairy monsters lose 500 attack and defense, and the activation effects of spell or trap cards activated on your field cannot be negated. Another decent boss monster, and I believe that fairies have a whole lot of these because there are many ways that you can get them out, at the very least temporarily. So, okay. Let's see. Level 5, Tethys, Goddess of Light. When you draw a fairy monster, except during the damage step, you can reveal one of those monsters and draw a card. And there is no once per turn clause, so this is essentially similar to a card called Heart of the Underdog. Every time you draw a fairy type monster, you can just keep drawing until you don't draw a fairy type monster. A decent level 5 monster to have. Though I can't help but think that this would probably be better printed as a spell card. But there are ways to keep this monster in the field, I think, within this deck, so I can forgive it being a monster. Let's see. So far, we're seeing a strategy form. It's basically fairy type monsters, a few boss monsters in the deck, bolstered by the spell card Sanctuary in the Sky, and yeah, that's kind of the revolving. But let's see how it can be bolstered further with the next quarter. Victoria. Now, this one is a bit of an oddball. Uh, Level 4, 1800 fairy type monster. Once per turn, you can target a dragon type monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon that target to your side of the field. Your opponent cannot target face up fairy type monsters for attacks except for this one. So, this probably would rather have a place in the side deck. Like, its only other use outside of snatching an opponent's dragon type monster in the graveyard is preventing your other fairy type monsters from being attacked, which is decent, but this requires a resource to be used. Furthermore, if you have a dragon type monster in your opponent's graveyard, you're already winning, so this is a win more card. Yeah, so this is definitely a win more card. Let's see. I believe this one has had some popularity in the fairy type decks. Athena. If another fairy monster is summoned, inflict 600 damage to your opponent. Once per turn, you can send a fairy monster you control to graveyard to special summon a fairy that doesn't share a name with Athena from the graveyard. Yes, I'd say this is a pretty powerful effect, and it's one that can self-actuate. Yeah, it will require some setup, but that I think can be forgiven with how the deck is run. In fact, with some adjustments, though on its own, yeah, this could possibly see some play. Although, so far, I do see a lot of potential to brick, but perhaps the spell cards will bolster it. But let's go through the rest of the monsters first. Here's a famous fairy type monster, Marshmallow. Cannot be destroyed by battle, and after damage calculation, if this card was attacked while it was face down, the attacking player takes 1000 damage. So the fact that it can't be destroyed by battle that effect was very powerful at the advent of synchro summoning. But nowadays, there's now I want to say 100 different ways that this can be destroyed. And it was Marshmallow and Spirit Reaper that were the powerhouses of this effect. But Spirit Reaper, you have even more ways to get rid of it. But Marshmallow has a way to actually bite back and punish your opponent for attacking it. Let's see here. All right. Next, Hecatrice. This references another card that we'll be going over in a later on. You can discard this card to add Valhalla, Hall of the Fallen from the deck to your hand. And this is an interesting one because an effect like this usually grabs a field spell, but this is the one time where this kind of effect grabs a continuous spell. And as I said, we'll go over it in a little while later. Shining Angel is a floater because, let's see, Shining Angel is a floater, and it's here because fairies. Let's see. Soul Purity and Light can be special summoned by banishing light monsters because light monsters. And unique effect, all monsters your opponent controls lose 300 attack during their battle phase. Let's see. Arknight Parshteth. I believe we've gone over this before in a different light fairy themed deck. Let's see. Level 5, 1900, and it has piercing damage. If it inflicts spell damage to your opponent, draw a card. Decent, but piercing doesn't really necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't excuse the fact that it is underperforming stat-wise for a level 5 monster. So, but in this deck, there is some ways that can help. In fact, we'll be going over in a little while here. But yeah, it can be forgiven being in here, but this would be something you'd want to replace with something else. Nova Summoner. Let's see. Destroyed by battle. Okay. So this one is another floater, but it's also a floater that's bolstered by the field spell Sanctuary in the Sky and has the ability to summon Air Knight Parshteth instead. So, like, if you want to keep Parshteth in the deck, then this would probably see its place and you would want to replace Shining Angel for another copy. But again, it's still a floater, so yeah, if you're getting rid of Air Knight Parshteth, get rid of this as well. Let me see. Zeradius, Herald of Heaven. This one is the discard searcher for Sanctuary in the Sky. Let's see. So, yeah, nothing more that needs to be said about this one. Alright. And here is a card that can forgive Air Knight Parshteth. And it's a famous one at that. We have Honest. See, so, during the main phase, you can return this face-up card on the field to the hand. You can discard this card during the damage step to, during a battle involving a light monster you control to increase the attack of your monster by the attack of the opposing monster. This one was one of the original hand traps, and it has, I'd say it has fallen out of popularity because I haven't seen it anywhere. Because nowadays, destruction effects and negation is the name of the game, but I feel like in the Genesys format, Honest might see some play. So I'd be surprised if it doesn't at least have 1 point. Interesting. All right. Hanewada. You can discard this card and you take no effect damage this turn. Quick effect. So yeah, this is another hand trap of sorts, specifically against decks that deal effect damage. This, though, I think would rather see its space in the side deck, if anywhere, because there are far stronger options than this. I'm trying to remember, is it a tuner? Yes, it's a tuner. Then Consecrated Light. I believe this is a monster floodgate. Neither player can normal or special summon dark monsters or declare an attack with a dark monster. This card cannot be destroyed by battle with a dark monster, and you take no battle damage from that battle. So yeah, another side deck option, but someone could probably surprise someone with this card if they're using a dark type deck. But like, this is absolutely situational. So yes. So, okay. So far, no points have been assigned to any of the cards we've been over so far, and we're also seeing a decent monster to spell and trap ratio. So now we go over the spells. Let's start, though, with one of the big ones, the Sanctuary in the Sky. I believe we've gone over this too in a previous entry. Battle damage to the control of a fairy type monster from a battle involving that monster becomes 0. But the Sanctuary in the Sky gets most of its power from the monsters that require this field spell for their effects to be bolstered, as you've seen. So, yeah. Sometimes it's about how it affects the other monsters outside of what it does itself. Very. Alright. Now, let's go over the other one too. Valhalla Hall of the Fallen. This is what Hecatrice would search out. Once per turn, you can special summon a fairy from your hand. You must control no monsters to activate and resolve this effect. Another decent card, I'd say. Like, this kind of falls along the lines of Double Summon, which to its credit would probably help out for the deck itself. But if you need this card, then it means that you don't have a lot of combo pieces for the deck. So once you get a good combo chain going, this can be replaced. Oops. And of course, terraforming because field spells. No, see, cards in the sky. Banish a light. Let's see, where is it? Okay. Banish a light fairy monster in the hand. If you do, draw 2 cards. You cannot special summon or conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. This is one of these wonky draw cards because they're here because Pot of Greed and Graceful Charity are banned. And for so much draw power, it needs a drawback. And this one, though, too much of a drawback for it to be that viable unless it's the starting turns. But even then, this could put you in a bad position. So if there's a better draw card that you can find, I would recommend replacing this card. Let me go check the numbers again. Okay. Smashing Ground. Powerful monster, single target monster destruction. Doesn't target, and it just selects the highest defense. I believe we've gone over Celestial Transformation. Special summon a fairy monster from the hand. That monster's attack is halved and is destroyed during the end phase. You would generally do this to get an effect off, and then it is destroyed, but the graveyard is more like a second hand at this point. Okay. Alright, Burial from a Different Dimension. Target up to 3 banished monsters, return them to the graveyard. This is sort of a way to reload resources for this deck. Specifically for this deck, this is pretty good. There might be better ways to go about this, but for this deck specifically, with cards being banished from the graveyard in order to trigger effects, yeah, this would be good to have. Alright. An interesting addition to this deck, Mausoleum of the Emperor, but it's here because there's a lot of level 5 and higher monsters, so this could be an alternative play. Uh, as we've gone over, basically this lets players tribute summon by spending life points instead of tributing monsters. Let's see, but it's been errated since then. Normal summons are sets that monster without tributing. This is neither one normal summon or set for that turn, and this is not a tribute summon. Oh, alright, this is their one normal summoner set for that turn, and is not considered a tribute summon. And I think that means that this can't be used for monarchs, because monarchs have to be tribute summoned in order for their effects to go off. I'm not entirely 100% sure. I'll have to look into it. But yeah. But yeah. Penultimate quarter review. So far, we're starting to see how the monsters are augmented by the spells and traps, and I'd say it's doing a pretty decent job at it, solving the problems posed by the monsters. Let's keep moving. Solidarity, a popular option for the deck. As long as you have only one original type of monster in the graveyard, all monsters you control with that same type gain 900 attack, which is one of those magic numbers as far as Yu-Gi-Oh! Is concerned. So, yes, pretty powerful, more of a win more card, might be better options than Solidarity to have, but as a starting set, yes, it's pretty good. Fountain in the Sky. Let's see. When a light monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can remove that monster from the graveyard to gain. Let's see. When a light monster is destroyed by a battle and sent to the graveyard. Oh, wait. When a light monster is destroyed by battle and sent to your graveyard, you can remove it from play to gain life points equal to its attack. Yeah, this is a bit awkward. Like it simultaneously serves as a win more card, but also puts the court in your opponent's field. Plus, destroyed by battle isn't really the safer option anymore. Whereas they would just outright use an effect to destroy monsters. So yeah, this would definitely go on the chopping block. Okay, now we're going into the traps, and I believe there are a few counter traps. Let's see, for negating effects and such. Let's see, including some that require the Sanctuary in the Sky to be on the field. When a spell or trap or monster effect is activated while the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, negate the activation, and if you do, negate it, destroy. Pretty powerful card. No drawback except for the fact that you need Sanctuary in the Sky. There are better cards to replace this with, though, because of that fact. I believe we've gone over Return from the Different Dimension before. Pay half your life points. Special summon as many monsters removed from play as possible. During the end phase, those monsters are removed from play. And with this deck specifically, this could be a very powerful counterplay. though it is a little wonky that it is a trap card. It wasn't. Okay, yeah, 3. Where's 2 coming from? Oh, that's the cards. There's the points. All right. And with return from the different dimension, we're edging ever so closer to 100. Let's see if we can maintain a steadiness. Let's see. Torrential Tribute. When a monster is summoned, destroy monsters on the field. A good alternative to cards like Mirror Force. You would just have to be careful with it because a lot of monsters have destruction protection. In fact, if you can, you might want to replace Torrential Tribute with something like Nibiru, as Nibiru tributes instead of destroys. Beckoning Light. Discard your entire hand, then for each card discarded, add a light monster from the graveyard to the hand. Possibly another Winmore card. You might keep this, but like it would shuffle your hand out for the cards in the graveyard, but it is a very yeah, this is definitely a win more card. When you're winning, it's great. When you're losing, it's not really that powerful. So yeah, it's situational. Yeah. Okay. Then we have in the deck 2 copies of Miraculous Descent. Target one of your banished fairy monsters, special summon it. When this card leaves the field, destroy the monster. When the monster is destroyed, destroy this card. So this is pretty much a Call of the Haunted for banished fairies, which can be pretty powerful in its own right. Call of the Haunted does have some merit to use, and thus Miraculous Descent has some merit to its use. Yeah, because there are a few fairies that could benefit from being summoned during your opponent's turn. Or there could be situations where you would want to summon a fairy during your opponent's turn. Okay. And the final one is a rather famous one, Solemn Judgment. By paying half your life points, let's see. When a monster would be summoned or a spell or trap is activated, pay half your life points to negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy the card. This is pretty much the general saying no to your opponent. And it has seen its time on, like, it's been limited for the longest time in the TCG format. And let's see if it's got some points in Genesys. In fact, let's have a look at the whole Solemn set. Oh, and the whole Solemn set hasn't really been hit that badly. Solemn Judgment only having 7 points, so to answer the question, yes, this deck is Genesys ready. And with some tweaks, it could actually be very powerful. Like, first and foremost, you would want to get some more synchro monsters, and with 20 points to spare, you can very well do that. And yeah, there are definitely some fat to trim in this deck, but all in all, it does have a pretty solid strategy that could, under the right conditions, it could take on most opponents. But again, lots of fat to trim and lots of kinks to work out. But yeah, play it for yourself, temper it, and you might have something good for the Genesys format. And I believe we've gone a little over 30 minutes, but I'd say we've gotten some good time with that. In any case, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button, make sure the bell's ringing. I also stream on Twitch every Saturday, and I also put polls and events on my Sure page. Be sure to tune in next time, where I'll be reviewing the Gates of the Underworld structure deck. Till then, thank you for watching. This is Controlled Chaos, signing out.